Thursday, the temperature was 63 degrees. So going back to this, we're going to read through all of our possible scenarios. If we look at both equations, we notice on Wednesday it started off at a higher, it was warmer, it started off warmer than it did on Thursday. But on Thursday, the temperature dropped by more degrees Fahrenheit per hour. So we're looking for something that says that we want to be able to make an inference between our two equations and talk about
My earring hurts.
It says for A, the temperature at midnight was less on Thursday than it was on Wednesday. So if we look at it, it said the temperature at midnight was less on Thursday than it was on Wednesday. Well, Wednesday's temperature was 59. Thursday's temperature was 53. So that is a true statement. The temperature on Thursday was less than it was on Wednesday. But let's read through the rest and make sure. The temperature changed faster on Wednesday than on Thursday. The temperature changed faster on Wednesday than on Thursday. That's not true, because if we look at the temperature changed faster on Thursday than it did on Wednesday. On Wednesday, it dropped 2 degrees Fahrenheit. On Thursday, it dropped 4 degrees Fahrenheit per hour. So it changed faster on Thursday than it did on Wednesday. So the second one is a false statement. Looking at the third statement, the temperature at 7 p.m. was greater on Wednesday than on Thursday. Going back to our equations, it said the temperature at 7 p.m. was greater on Wednesday than...
Try joining off my profile, baby.
Okay, wait. I have to go back to the first statement. Sorry, guys.
Like you always do.
Well, let's go to this one. The temperature at 7, and this is why we need to read and see even I make mistakes. So the temperature at 7 p.m. was greater on Wednesday than it was on Thursday. If we look, yes, the temperature on Wednesday was greater than the temperature on Thursday, because the temperature on Wednesday started off at 59. And the temperature on Thursday started off at 53, so that is a true statement. And we're going to address statement A, because I clearly rushed through that and didn't read it all the way. And then the last one says the temperature was less at midnight than it was at 7 p.m.
Living the
for
now
both
and the
days.
here.
The temperature
It's
was
what my
less at
shaman tells me
midnight
when I'm
than it
feeling
was
too
at
skimmed
7
for a session.
for both
Do you
days.
use that guy from Tulum?
So,
Which one?
before I
Can't throw a
address
bloody
the last
espadrille
one,
about
going back
it,
to
the
the
shaman
top, it
down
says
there.
the temperature
Yeah.
at midnight. The temperature at midnight was less
This
on
motor got
Thursday
somewhere I
than
can stick in
on
USB?
Wednesday.
I put
So,
a little mix
if we-
together.
so-
Get us in the mood.
Yeah, man. Sure, I got
Remember,
something.
it's saying midnight.
Sweet.
This is since 7 p.m. So that means
If I'd have known you were gonna play DJ
midnight.
I would've called a
From
different
7
broker.
p.m. to midnight, we need to see how many
Right,
hours that is.
right.
So,
Duly noted.
8, 9, 10, 11, and then midnight.
You do
So that's
hard
5
working for
hours,
me
right?
today,
That's
right?
5 hours.
My
So
place,
it's saying the
my
temperature at
rules.
midnight was less on
You
Thursday
don't step
than
out of
on
line.
Wednesday.
Yes, mate, yeah, of course. We're here to make sure this party goes off with...
Okay, guys. This is probably where you guys get it from, because I don't read it all the way. Okay, let's go back.
Tonight? Not ever.
Okay, so let's go back to reading the
hi.
whole thing. I'm
Fun.
sorry, guys.
The guests are
Linear
here, they've
functions,
got
model
drinks, kind
temperatures
music,
on
we're
Wednesday,
just
Thursday,
setting
on
up.
Wednesday,
Things
the
are going
temperature
really
7
great.
p.m. was
You
59
guys go
degrees
ahead. Enjoy
Fahrenheit,
yourselves,
then the
huh?
temperature
Honey,
dropped
someone
2
you simply must meet.
hours,
He's right over here.
2 degrees Fahrenheit each hour till midnight.
Hey, man.
The function T
My party. Who are
equals
you?
63
Hey, I'm
minus
Scott
4H model temperature on Thursday.
backup
The
'cause they
temperature
couldn't
T
make
is in
it.
degrees Fahrenheit and H is the number of
but
hours
remind
since
me
7
what you-
p.m.
who the fuck are
What do the initial
Who am I?
values
I'm one of the
tell
biggest
you for
rap
these
producers
functions?
of all time.
This is
Scott
the part I
Storch.
didn't read. What
Oh,
do the
shit,
initial
okay,
values
big-time
tell
record
you for these
producer.
functions?
All right,
So we
great,
are
great.
only
Not as great as the
worried
other guy.
about this part.
Hey,
This is
great,
the
man. I
only
can't
part
wait to
we're
listen.
worried
You've
about
probably been listening to
making
my
the
records your whole
comparison.
life. Whatever.
The initial values.
They
Oops,
talk to you
not
about the
that.
thing? Yeah, no problem.
The
Whatever you
initial
need,
values
say.
are here.
Okay.
The equation is
Hey,
written
out of
backwards.
curiosity,
Remember, the initial values are the ones
how
without
much
the
were you paying the
variables.
other guy?
So,
Oh no.
the initial values, what do the initial values
We
tell
cool or
you
what?
about it? So, the
yeah,
initial
yeah.
values
Those
tell
are
us
cool, man.
that
No
the
problem at
temperature
all.
on Wednesday was
the
greater than
phone.
the temperature on
Love you,
Thursday.
man.
So that's why it
You're on
makes
it too.
sense, guys. See how I
A
just
word.
went through all of this with you guys to make a comparison?
Feel that?
And
It's
I
about to
didn't
get
read this
sexy.
part. All it wants us
Look,
to do
when
is
it
state
kicks
what
off,
the initial
sneak out the
values
back
tell
and
us
have
for
yourself
these
a goosey
functions.
gander,
So
yeah?
we're making a
Right.
comparison between
Come
our
with me.
two initial initial values.
Excuse me?
So now
Mind
that
your
I
backs.
know that,
Coming through.
the comparison is that the
Dave's
temperature
being a
was
good boy
greater on
tonight.
Wednesday than
Clean
it
as
was
a
on
whistle.
Thursday.
No tranks. I'll jump on the old Jetaroo,
Temperature at
whenever you want to
7
go.
p.m. was greater
Yeah,
on Wednesday
can't
than it
smash
was
them
on
all,
Thursday.
can we?
Guys, this is
Got to
why
know when to say Ixnay.
clearly reading is
Hold on.
fundamental, because
Here we
if
go.
you see,
Excuse me.
I
just want to say a few
same
words.
thing. Why isn't it
We're all
not
here
letting
because
me
of one man. The kindest, most generous man I know. Juan Strickler. El Rubio. My brother.
Whose party is this?
I don't know, but it's gonna be sick.
A lot gets written about you on the internet. They talk about cocaine, turf wars, missing journalists. But you know what they never say? How big your heart is. You're beautiful. You're a humanitarian. And you throw the best parties in the world. So from all of us, we thank you.
Stop it. I said, oh, come on. I said no speeches, huh? You're embarrassing me. Huh? But thank you, my brother. Well, maybe more like my half-brother, eh? Hey, he's got a lot of hits from the 2000s, eh? All right. Who's ready to fucking party? I give you China music!
Let's go,
Oh, it won't let you
fucking
check it
lords!
Well, you have to submit it first. I forgot that. Okay, that's why it's not letting me check. But okay, so again, guys, read what the question wants from you. So again, I will go through this one. It's a different one. Linear functions modeled the temperature on Wednesday and Thursday. On Wednesday, the temperature at 7 p.m. was 62 degrees Fahrenheit. The temperature then dropped 3 degrees each hour until midnight. The function T equals 66 minus 2H modeled the temperature on Thursday. The temperature T is in degrees Fahrenheit and H is the number of hours since 7 p.m. What do the initial values for these functions tell you? So you only care about the initial values, making a comparison between your initial values. Again, you need to come up with your equation for Wednesday. You need to come up with your equation for Wednesday.
The hell am I supposed to do?
And the one for Thursday is given to you. So it says that Wednesday the temperature was 62 degrees at 7 p.m. and it dropped 3 degrees Fahrenheit each hour. So
now somebody do something, I'll participate, but for me sitting up and doing
minus
no.
3H, and then for Thursday 66 minus 2H. Thursday 66 minus 2H. Now again, the last part of the, and that's why we should read through the whole thing, because the last part just wants us to make a comparison between their initial values. So, Wednesday's temperature at 7 p.m. was 62 degrees and Thursday's was 66 degrees. So Thursday had a higher than Wednesday. So the temperature at 7 p.m. was less on Wednesday than on Thursday. So it doesn't say anything about Thursdays being greater. It says Wednesdays was less, which is the same thing as Thursdays being greater, right? So you guys need to read through these to make sense. It says, what did the initial values tell you? So it said the temperature changed faster on Wednesday than on Thursday. The temperature did change faster on Wednesday than on Thursday, but that is only if they said, well, what do the rate of changes tell you? That has to do with the rate of change. So guys, make sure you're paying attention, because some of you probably selected something that had to do with the rate of change, and although it was a true statement, it's not asking you about the rate of change. It's asking you about the initial values. So the first one is a true statement, but that is only if it's inquiring about the rate of change. It's not about the initial values. And then it says the temperature was less at midnight than it was at 7 p.m. for both days. That's a true statement as well. Yes, the temperature will be less at midnight than it was at 7 p.m. because if the temperature is dropping on both days, then of course it's going to be less than it initially was. So that you guys have to make sense of stuff. So yes, that's a true statement. Does it have to do with what the question is asking you? No. And then the temperature at midnight was less on Thursday than it was on Wednesday. That's probably, well, no, it wouldn't be, because if it's dropping at 2 degrees per hour, then it would be less on Wednesday. But either way, see how the other two were true statements, but they have nothing to do with what the question wants from you. So you really need to read. Guys, it's important when going through these type of word problems to read. You guys saw the mistake I initially made. I didn't read the last part either, so I'm just going through all this stuff when I could have simply gotten to the answer once I knew what I was looking for. So make sure you know what the question is wanting from you. Here is another one that a lot of people got incorrect. A linear function models the height of a burning candle. Candle A comes out of the mode at 207 millimeters and is expected to be 183 millimeters after 3 hours. Of burning. The model for candle B is H equals 260
Not gonna start happening.
H equals 260 minus 8T, where H is the height in millimeters, and T is the time in hours. What are the initial values for each candle? What do the initial values for each candle tell you? So again, guys, you have to read this thoroughly. It's only wanting what your initial values is. Your initial value is the height that the candle started off at. The height that the candle started off at. We don't even have to come up with an equation for A, because we should know that. It tells us candle A comes out of the mode at 207 millimeters.
Hold on.
At 207 millimeters. So candle A, its initial value when it started at, when it was created, was 207. And then looking at the model for candle B, the equation is H equals 260 minus 8T. Again, you're looking for your initial value. Initial value is just candle here. This is not written in form in Y plus MX plus B. You guys need to realize that. If this is written in form Y plus MX plus B, then negative 8T would be over here. It would say H equals negative 8T plus 260. So don't rely on that. You guys should know your initial value is the value in the equation that does not have a variable next to it. So the initial value for candle B is 260. Then it says, what do the initial values for each candle tell you? Well, candle A's is 207, candle B's is 260. It says candle A will burn faster each hour than candle B. The rate of the candle burning is the rate of change. So we're not asking about the routine, we're asking about the initial value. So we don't care which candle will burn faster, because that has to do with the rate of change and not the initial value. The height for candle A and candle B are the same when they begin burning. No, they are not. Candle A's height is 207, candle B's height is 260. Candle A is taller than candle B when they begin burning. No, not true. Candle A is 207, candle B is 260. Bigger than 207. Candle B is taller than candle A.
I'm gonna really do this shit like I did my friends, okay?
So when it's talking about the rate of the burning, that has to do with rate of change. So that can't be
How the
because it's asking about initial value. It's asking you to make a comparison of their height. Their initial values is their height, what they started off at. So which one is bigger is what it's saying. And candle B is taller.
Imagine
candle
one
A
more
when
time
before
before it
they
kicks me
begin
out.
burning.
Tatiana, you're annoying. Oh my god, nothing.
Here's another one. I think many got partial credits because of the second part of the answer. So you are comparing the rates of change of two linear functions represented in different forms. So clearly we see a table, we see an equation for a linear function in the form of y equals mx plus b. how can you tell the rate of change of the function? And then it says, how can you tell the rate of change from a table? So they want us to know, how can we tell what the rate of change is from the equation? How can we tell what it is? The possible answers for a linear function in the form of y equals mx plus b. How can you tell the rate of change? How can we tell the rate of change of the function? Find the value of y when x equals 1. We've never learned anything about finding y when x equals 1. That's not going to give us the rate of change. We know that. Find the value of m. M is our rate of change, right? We know that. So we have to find the value of m to find the rate of change. But let's look at the
Why do my
rest.
character
It says
run so
find the value
fast?
of
I don't
negative
get that.
b. No, that would be, and it wouldn't be negative b. It would just be find the value of b if it was asking about the initial value. And then it says find the value of x when y equals 0. Again, that has nothing to do with rate of change. So I'm not really worried about this part because I think the majority got this right. It was the second part where we did not answer correctly. So it says, how can you tell the rate of change of a linear function from the table? Well, let's go to the table and see what happens. To get from 1 to 2, you add 1. 2 to 3, you add 1. 3 to 4, you add 1. To get from 13 to 10, you subtract 3. 10 to 7, subtract 3. 7 to 4, you subtract 3. Let's see. So we see an increase of 1 in our x values and a decrease of 3 in our y values. Let's see what kind of makes sense for that. Find the value of y when x equals 1. That has nothing to do with rate of change, right? Find the change in x when y increases by 1.
Today?
We know that our output side typically doesn't increase by 1. It increases or decreases by a different value, right? And we clearly see that y is decreasing by 3. Find the value of x when y equals 1. Again, these two make absolutely no sense. You guys also need to start being able to determine what stuff makes no sense. And when have you ever heard this? This has never been introduced to us, so why does it make sense now? Again, they'll always say stuff to throw you off because they want to see if you can think logically through a situation. Find the change in y when x increases by 1. Isn't that what we're doing? We're finding the change in y minus 3 because x is increasing by 1. From 1 to 2 plus 1, 2 to 3 plus 1, 3 to 4 plus 1. You find the change in y when x increases by 1. That's what you're doing because your input side is always typically, it's always increasing by 1 and your output side is either increasing or decreasing by a different value other than 1. So find the change in y when x increases by 1. But again, guys, if you go through this and see, you can kind of, well, again, you know, like this has nothing, we've never talked about anything like these two. It makes no sense and it has nothing to do with rate of change. So it has to be out of these two. Some of you chose find the change in x when y increases by 1. And that's not it. But if you looked at the table and you did it yourself, you would see you're finding the change in y as x increases by 1. You can see that in the table. So make sure you guys are taking your time and really thinking through these things to make sure. Oh wait, there might be another part to the question. Oh no. Why is it saying I didn't even...
We will need signals box to get patched in. Have a look around for it.
Okay, here's another one that almost, I think everybody got incorrect.
Can't climb on this fucking
Each
box. Oh
homework
my
assignment
god.
has required problems that all students try.
Nothing.
There are also 5 optional extra credit problems. So again, each homework assignment has required problems that all students try. There are also 5 optional extra credit problems. Melvin never tries the extra credit problems. Sharon tries them all. What function rule describes how many problems Sharon tries for any given number of problems. Melvin tries. Let M represent the number of problems Melvin tries, and S represents the number of problems Sharon
What in the...
What function rule describes how many problems Melvin tries for any given number of problems Sharon tries? If the assignment has 9 required problems, how many problems does Sharon try?
Wait, huh?
Now, I know this is fully loaded, guys, and you need to start breaking stuff down, right? You want to break stuff down. So always take notes. If you guys, when you come to test, if you want to open up this virtual whiteboard to do so, or if you have your own, or if you just want to use paper. But when something is this loaded, you want to break it down. So we know that each homework assignment has required problems that all students try. And then there's 5 optional extra credit. So we have.
You must experiment. You need exactly target voltage.
We know that everyone is required to do homework, right? And then we have the 5 optional. And I'm just gonna write EC for extra credit. Okay. We know Melvin never tries the homework problem. So Melvin, he just always does. Melvin just does the homework only. Melvin. I'm just gonna put no EC.
Get some smoke.
And then we're looking at Sharon tries them all, so she does all of the homework plus the extra credit. So Sharon does all. And then it says what function rule describes how many problems Sharon tries for any given number of problems Melvin tries. Let M represent the number of problems Melvin tries, and S represent the number of problems Sharon tries. So let's before we even start coming up with an equation, because we want to know that we want to represent an equation for Sharon, right? How many Sharon does per Melvin, right?
What's up the cameras, bro?
Let's just look at this. So let's just put this into perspective. Let's say the teacher assigned 20
Tatiana,
20 homework
you
problems.
see this?
Right? And then she has and then you have the 5 optional extra credit. So how many problems is Melvin gonna do? How many problems will Melvin do if this teacher assigned the 20 required homework problems? And he only does the homework.
Okay, this must be
Okay.
inside the compound. Looks like Mr. Rubio. And Gustavo. He was at the plane.
They got a Black Panther.
So we're just giving a fake scenario here to try to make some sense of this. So if there was 20 problems on the homework, and remember that homework assignment requires all students to try. So if there were 20 questions on the homework, how many of those did Melvin complete?
You see? This is a lesson to us all, I think. If our friend had known the Russian proverb, he would not be cat food now, yes? Here we go. We have business to attend to. Have a look through different cameras. We must find probable location of files. It will be somewhere highly secure. I will look through from here.
Come on, guys, or else you'll have to come back, because I have to get through all of these. So if the teacher is requiring that all students try homework, all students are required to do homework, and there's 20 problems on the homework, how many of those problems did Melvin do?
Weak ass guard. Wish my GTA house was like this anyways.
Basement. Reinforced walls. This is promising. Look around on the camera. And bingo! Military grade safe with a dead drop cylinder. This must be it. files, but we still must find out
Yeah,
how to get the
guessing is
basement.
fine.
Keep looking through camera feeds.
Okay, where did you get 15 from?
No, I just like 20 minus 5. I know I got it wrong.
Okay, that's fine. So you did 20 minus 5. So remember, the 20 questions are the questions that come on the homework, right? And all students are required to do all 20 questions. So how many did Melvin do?
Bitch, I don't know. What a fucking lion. The fuck?
This looks like Mr. Rubio's office. And there, an elevator. It does not go up, so we know it must take him down to the
Required
vault.
problems that all
But look
students
again.
try.
Fingerprint
So if
scanner.
I say you guys have homework tonight and you have 20 questions that all of you are required to do, you're required to do all 20. And then I say you have 5 questions. That's not a part of the 20, guys. You have 5 optional extra credit questions. So we know that Melvin does no extra credit questions. He only does the required homework problems. So if Melvin only does the required homework problems, how many problems does he do for the homework?
Entrances and exits to find, tools, equipment, and of course the
Get
really
to thing.
important thing,
Doing the equipment.
cash, valuables, contraband.
Yeah, right.
At the minimum, I suggest you look at the north dock before you leave.
Yeah.
This is the one
20.
you passed on the way to
He
the
does
party.
20. There's
I
20
suspect there won't be much
questions
to
on
learn
the
there.
homework,
Just do not
and
let the
he's
guards
required
see
to
you.
do all
Less
20 by
trouble
his
he
teacher.
causes,
Every
the
student is
better.
required to do all 20, but she also gives 5 extra credit. So it says Sharon does all of the problems. That means she does the required homework problems and the extra credit. So how many problems does Sharon do?
Damn.
25, because she's doing the 20 required homework problems plus the 5 optional extra credit problems. So she's doing 25. And so we're looking for, so we know that we're looking for an equation where it says Sharon, we want to know an equation for Sharon compared to Melvin. So if we say Sharon has 25, right? Let's say Sharon has 25. And then we say
Look at all this weed.
Melvin
But I wish in real life. Shit.
has 20. What could I do to equal these sides out? So Sharon equal Melvin, and I'm trying to see what do I do. What can I do to equal these sides out? How can I make 25? How can I make these sides equal?
But
What can I do on the right hand side?
am I closer to the thing at least? Am I closer to the
How can
dot?
I make the right hand side equal
Are
25
you
as
closer?
well? Or what I
Okay.
need to do?
Hey, what are you doing here?
Bro, you seen the car turn my way? Oh my god. It turned my way. What the hell? GTA got some bullshit.
How many more problems does Sharon complete than Melvin?
I don't even want to play this no more. Do this one more damn time.
If Sharon completes 25 problems and Melvin completes 20, how many more problems does Sharon complete than Melvin?
5.
5. So plus 5, right? To make these sides equal, if Sharon's amount of problems is 25 and Melvin's is 20, you add 5, right? So that's the same thing here. Here's your equation. Sharon equals Melvin plus 5. The amount of Melvin's problems plus 5. She completes 5 more problems than him because he only completes the homework problems, right? the required homework problems, and that's it. She completes those required homework problems plus the 5 extra credits. So we're looking for the equation that says S equals M plus 5. S equals M plus 5. So, guys, I know it seems, it's really loaded and a lot, but you guys have to break down stuff and try to put it in a real life scenario, right? Try to make sense of it. Try to use numbers and then see if you can come up with the equation. So how we started off first, where I said, okay, if there's 20 homework problems and Melvin only does the required homework problems, then he's only doing the 20, right? It's just Sharon does all. That means she's doing all of the required homework problems plus the 5 optional extra credits. So she's doing 5 more problems than Melvin.
What
she's
the
doing
hell?
20 plus the 5, which is 25. So the equation is Sharon is the number of problems Sharon does is equal to the number of problems Melvin does plus the 5 additional extra credits. And that's what the question is wanting. It wants you to put this scenario into an equation, into a function rule. And then it says which function rule describes how many problems Melvin tries for any given number of problems Sharon tries. So we're just doing this backwards, right? Now it wants us to give a function rule for if it was Melvin, we wanted to know how many problems Melvin tries for any given number of problems Sharon tries. So we're doing this backwards. So we want to know the equation for Melvin, right? Melvin equals Sharon, and then we need to find whatever operation. Well, again, we could do this backwards. We know Melvin tries only the 20 required assignments, and we know that Sharon does the 20 plus the 5 extra credit. How can we get these sides equal? How can I make the right side 20 as well? What do I need to do?
Did you find anything?
To get from 25 to 20, what do I need to do?
Cash, drugs, or, well, cash or drugs. Mr. Rubio is not merely cocaine manufacturer. He has sidelined in potent strain of herbal remedies. Follow your nose, Capitan.
How do I...
Subtract?
You subtract what?
5.
5. So that means for Melvin's, the amount of problems Melvin completes equals the amount of problems Sharon completes minus 5, right? And it makes sense because Melvin only does the required, Sharon does the required plus the extra credit. So if they're asking Melvin's equations, it's the opposite. Notice these equations are opposite. Sharon's equals Melvin's, the amount of problems Melvin completes plus 5, because he only does the required and she does the required plus 5. Now if we're looking at Melvin compared to Sharon, Melvin only does the required and so he does what Sharon does minus 5, because he doesn't do the extra credit. So they're asking for the equations in opposite forms, if that makes sense, guys. But you have to just put it into perspective. So Melvin, so we're looking for, if we were to say what Melvin's linear function rule, it's the amount of problems Sharon completes minus 5, because he doesn't do the extra credit. So we're looking for M equals S minus 5. M equals S minus 5, which is here.
Let me know. Keep me posted.
Babe.
And then it says, if the
assignment
has 9 required problems, how many problems does Sharon try? So we know if the problem has 9 required problems, right? Those are the problems that are required for everybody. And then it says there are 5 optional extra credit. So if there is 9 required problems, and we know that Sharon does the required plus the 5 optional extra credit, we're just doing 9 plus 5, well, that's 14.
10 o'clock. I'm not gonna be able to finish
Guys,
this.
I just really want you to try hard on this. Maybe before even moving on to other things, we'll work more on word problems and things like that. But I really want you guys to start making sense of this and taking notes and trying to make sense of things and see if you can make sense of the equation and what it actually means. So we'll try to work more on
Send me back to home. I'm done with this shit. Do this shit later. I don't got time for this.
Okay, here is one. Here is one that quite a few got wrong.
That's right back home.
Either because you did the wrong some of you are still using the slope formula wrong. You want to use your x. Some of you are using the x values before you use the y values. So looking at this, and then some of you are forgetting negatives. Again, guys, when you get something like this, make sure you check out the whole scenario, right? We see that we're given
Scenario?
two pairs. We're
Scenario?
looking at a graph. If we look at the line, it's a negative line.
Ain't you a teacher?
It's going down, so we want to know, what are we looking for? It says find the rate of change. This is where you guys need to understand. Another thing some of you were doing, where you were giving me the initial value. So you were giving me this point.
So
you were giving me.
So
Some of you would say the rate of change was 10,
and
because you were giving me the initial value, and that's not the rate of change. The initial value, remember, that's your y-intercept, that's your b.
Okay.
So no, it's saying what is your rate of change. Your rate of change is your change in y over your change in x, right? So you guys could have either, and again, this is only smart if you know what your axes are in increments of. So you don't want to say this is 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You don't want to say this is negative 3/8 because it's not in increments of 1, it's in increments of 2. So your rate of change will be 2, 4, 6, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. So your rate of change will be negative 6 over 16, which simplifies, and guys, if you don't simplify, you'll also get it wrong, which simplifies to negative 3/8. Another way you could do this, again, but you guys have to do it correctly. So again, one thing was some of you were counting by ones and you got the incorrect. Some of you gave the initial value, so you would have said it was 10. The rate of change was 10, which is not true. We're not asking for initial value, we're asking for rate of change. Some of you forgot to include the negative. And then some of you are, again, so if the point is 0, 10, 16, 4, and honestly, guys, I feel like you should use the slope formula, just because I'm not even comfortable with some of you. I don't want you guys to get it incorrect by mistakenly counting by 1 units when it's in increments of 2. So if you're given the 2 points, it's giving you the 2. Your slope formula is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So you guys are simply filling in these. You're simply going to fill these in. So y2, that's going to be the 4, right? So that's 4 minus y1. Your y1 is here. Remember, your y values are the ones after the comma. So 4 minus 10 over x2, that's 16, minus x1, which is 0. Your x values are before the comma, the first set of values. But those go in your denominator. You guys are switching them. Some of you are still switching them.
Why is she going to warm
now
up?
You just do your basic subtraction, guys. 4 minus 10. And if you use a calculator if need be, I don't care. 4
She
minus
said
10,
she's going to warm
6,
the car up. It's
that,
only 9:41. Whatever.
Hello there.
Come on, keyboard.
Can't draw this shit, nut. Oh my god, it's just a waste of time to buy this shit.
Still have this so negative 6, guys. And then 16 minus 0, or anything minus 0 is just itself.
Buying this shit again,
negative 6 over 16. And then again, you cannot leave it like this. You need to simplify. So it simplifies to negative 3/8. So again, there were a couple of things I seen there. I seen some of you doing it like this, 16 minus 0 over 4 minus 10, which you would have gotten opposite. You would have got 16 over negative 6, or negative 8/3. So you would have gotten the reciprocal because you're doing it wrong. You're doing x2 minus x1 over y2 minus, not the formula. And you guys have the formula even when I don't provide it to you. It should be in your notes. As long as you're taking your notes, you should see it in there about 3 times. So you guys, if you have this formula written down, then it should be easy for you to place your values. Again, if you have, I'm not going to even put numbers here. This is always going to be Whenever your first ordered pairs is given to you, those are your ones. Your second ordered pairs that are given to you, those are your twos. And you should know which one is X and which one is Y. And you simply plug those values.
The fuck is calling me, bro?
This equation and solve. And
Hold on.
simplify these equals with your negative.
I'm tired of her ass. I'm about to move and she finna stay. And you too. Okay? Okay. I'm picking that shit up. What shoes should I wear? Should I wear Air Forces? Slides? Or the Feelers? Or my black and red shoes? I got black G's though, but different. My God, you're dirty. You always want me to wear these shoes. You always want me to wear them. No. No, I want to wear you. Weirdo. Stank ass yawn. Did you even brush your teeth? No, you didn't. Your breath smell like cow ass. Oh, Tatiana's going to hell. I seen you roasted an old lady on TikTok with one arm. Do it, do it. I'm calling parents. Yeah. Do it, do it. Do it, Bora Bora. Where my red jacket at? I'm gonna put it on. Then I'm gonna take her off. And Tatiana's finna go home to the golf crew. Tatiana's the ops, bro. For real, for real. Ain't you?
We have the points -2, -2, 1.
US?
-2, -2.
I know you are. Yeah, Clever Portal. Everybody go to the Clever Portal.
So we want to find this guy.
I don't know if she just want me to get off.
First thing I have to do is
to like.
Again, you guys need the calculator because y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1.
I got the women in Dallas. I forgot about that shit. I'm playing my application. My broadcast going in.